Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean Tobias, coming to you live from Reviv's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. I'd like to welcome Ted Colbert, the CEO of Boeing Global Services. The world's largest aerospace company, Boeing develops, manufactures, and services commercial airplanes, defense products, and space systems, something we'll talk about, for customers in more than 150 countries, pretty widespread. As America's biggest manufacturing exporter, which I love, Boeing employs about 140,000 people around the globe in 65 countries, who last year generated over $62 billion in revenue. So pretty good coming out of the pandemic there. But Ted was named one of the most influential Black executives in corporate America. He also, though, was just awarded the 2022 Black Engineer of the Year Award by Black Engineer in IT Magazine, which recognizes top leaders who have expanded opportunities for African Americans in STEM programs. So we'll talk about that as well. One of my hot buttons, as many of you know. Ted, it's good to see you, and congratulations on the Engineer of the Year Award. It's quite a big honor.
Thank you. It's good to see you as well. And thank you for having me. A pleasure to be with you today and looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, some fun stuff to talk about. I think you were also one of the first recipients of the Fisher Center Prize at Berkeley and named one of the most powerful executives in corporate America by Black Enterprise Magazine, if I got my facts straight. So
yes,
you've been
very
busy.
Fortunate. Yes, busy and lots of opportunities. So very fortunate. And
I love it.
Appreciate all.
Yeah, so maybe I thought a good place to start with would be global services. Rather impressive group, about 300 locations, 70 countries that you're managing around the world. But what I love about it the most, it's got a very compelling kind of a customer-centric approach, which many companies don't. I think other industries should look at adopting more of what you're doing. And very simple, you're servicing competitive platforms. You're actually servicing not just your own products, but those of your competitors. And to me, it seems extremely compelling to clients, and probably a smart growth strategy too. So yeah, let's start with that. How's it going?
So it's going well, and it's really important to go back a little bit.
Yes.
We formed Boeing Global Services back in 2017 by taking the best of what was commercial services out of our commercial business and the best of what was defense services out of our defense business, both domestic and international. And since 2017, we've been working really hard to both take advantage of the synergies that bring those businesses together, but serve our customers even better. Our mission is to keep the world's fleet flying safely and efficiently through data-driven innovation. And that sentence is jam-packed with all kinds of goodness.
That is a mouthful. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, indeed. And so the first pillar of our strategy, we use strategy in corporate world a lot, but we really need to bring it to life. And it's back to your point, which is around having this customer-centric focus. We put the customer in front of everything that we do, and we are deliberately and have deliberately designed our services to some key segments that serve our customers. That's around supply chain, it's around training and professional services, it's around engineering and global technical operations, it's digital and data analytics, and then we have the specialty products and services groups. So we believe that our domain platform knowledge around the world is unrivaled. That allows us to provide those customer-centric solutions. And we also believe that the future is very digital, and we're focused on being a digital innovation hub that really amplifies all those, what I'll call enduring and proven capabilities in the services world, but makes them that much better for our customers to pursue their mission. So that's sort of what BGS is at a very high level. As you said, we operate around the world, 70 countries, and enjoy serving our customers, both commercial and defense.
Yeah, and some Fortune 100s have learned or stumbled into some of them, but that their services sector can actually make more money. Their gross margins sometimes are higher, not always. But And I see such a benefit in working. I'd love to be able to work on my competitors' products because I can take them apart and figure it out and see and take it back to my engineers. But you're not doing like, little digital servers. When people say, this isn't rocket science, this is rocket science. I mean, because you're working on some extremely technical, extremely sensitive life and death type of equipment.
Yeah.
A lot of responsibility that is it like a lot of these airlines and governments are, do they view you as like, hey, we're just outsourcing all of this to you because we have this level of trust with you, or are you more of an augmentation, or is it all just situational?
I would say, I'd say both on the commercial and the defense side of our business, they are very, very strong partnerships. We are part of their ability to serve their customers. And so we have to move at a pace that supports the dynamic nature of their customers, whether it's commercial or defense.
Yep.
And we also have to make sure that all the focus that we have around safety and quality in the development of our products continues down the long life cycle of those products. So, safety and quality being, a foundational part of how we build, it's also how we take advantage of supporting our customer in the long term, or say partner with them, to that mission. So we're very integrated with them, and it is in some ways in our parts business, for example, you could call that more transactional because it is transactional.
Sure.
But from the perspective of most of our portfolio, it is a strong partnership with our customers.
Let's shift to you. When I think of Boeing, I think of huge planes, hardware, a lot of moving parts going around. Yet you rose up more in the tech analytics side of the business, which we all know is very attractive right now. But how does that fit into the present, really the future of Boeing? And you mentioned it's all about digital, but from your career trajectory, it's an interesting fit.
Absolutely. So if you think about the way our world has evolved over the last several years and frankly decade, digital has really been a part of everything that's grown, and most things that have grown and grown really well. That is not unlike the aerospace industry. You could say that we've been doing work in digital and aerospace and defense for a really long time. But just like other industries, whether it's consumer products or the telecoms world or automobiles, the technology exists today in a way that allows it to be adopted faster and scaled more effectively across a broad and wide variety of problems that have to be solved. And so if you just simply take from an inside kind of enterprise corporate perspective, the value stream of how our products are developed and delivered, from design to engineering to manufacturing to supply chain to delivery, and then you add in the services element of our products, there are opportunities to solve problems in every dimension of that value stream. There are ways to provide data and solutions to help folks that work in that value stream make decisions with more clarity, make faster decisions, support predictive needs of the customer. In the services world, we have a ton of examples where we've used predictive capabilities to help improve the operational performance of our customers' fleets, improve crew scheduling on the commercial side, improve fuel optimization, helping with our defense customers in their mission readiness and capability, cost per flight hour, all the metrics that make sense to them. So in any way you think about it, if you take a business metric that drives your business and the thing that you describe as what success looks like, and you go all the way back to how you do the work, we can think of and we can ideate and innovate around digital to make things that much better.
It's amazing. Let's shift to speaking of rocket science. One of my favorite topics is space.
Sure.
Let's go there first,
Sure.
and we'll come back down to Earth later. But it's just fascinating. I just came from the CES show of 2022, and there was a lot of the what I call startups, but a lot of emerging growth companies are getting into space, and a lot of outsourcing just seems to be booming. There's no shortage of these emerging companies that are doing the heavy lifting for the USA's space programs, and so I'm just curious how how's that going for Boeing? What's next? Were you doing stuff on your own? When you look at this like build, buy, borrow type of matrix that we look at Kellogg, it's like you guys are used to building your own stuff. Now you're investing in companies and other things, which is good. But so just interested in two things: your approach to space, which has mostly been more on probably your government side, but and then more personally, what does space travel look like over the next couple decades? Is it going to be like Apple, where it's like flights for the rest of us type of thing, or is it still going to be kind of just a little tiny market for space travel?
That's a good question. Well, look, first, Boeing, as you know, hopefully all of our listeners know, Boeing has been in the space business for a very long time.
Big time. Yeah.
We've made amazing contributions to the space programs here, and that will continue, and it has continued. Our team continues to contribute to the International Space Station. We obviously have worked with the Space Launch System and the Starliner, and we have launch services and satellite continuing to move forward. And then we have a bunch of other activities that we don't talk about quite as much, obviously. But I see us continuing to be, in this business. We have a very important place to play in the future of space. We frankly spend time serving our customer, NASA, largely in this dimension of the industry. We stay very, very close to NASA and make sure that we are a formidable option for whatever the needs of space are going forward. We recognize, and frankly, it's important that there's competition, healthy competition in this domain, and we all take different approaches to getting things done. And frankly, that's a good thing. It's better for NASA, the country, and the world. It helps drive innovation, and it allows us all to get to, whatever those objectives are, at the right pace. Obviously, I'll just continue to say with safety and quality first, right? And so
yeah, it tends to be a thing when you're strapping yourself to a rocket.
Exactly. It's very hard work.
I've been to the Houston Space Center many times, and actually you see your people always walking around there. It's like the level of specificity is mind blowing. What has to get done?
Yeah,
and the timelines are exhausting. How long these timelines are?
Oh gosh, the timelines are amazing because it is that precise, and so we will always put safety and quality first. We will, learn from our history and past and many, many years of being in this industry, and we'll continue to contribute in big ways. So I don't see that changing anytime soon, and really encouraged by the team's work. Now, commercial space travel.
When can I book a flight?
We'll see. I don't know.
I will go.
It's one of those things that again that will continue to evolve. We've got to get it right, obviously from a scale up perspective on all the technologies that have to be in place. We have a regulatory environment. We have the cultural element of people being comfortable with it. There's obviously a cost element and scale around that. There are a bunch of things that we'll all learn more about over the next couple of decades, and those things will be the things that really pace the growth of the commercial space travel business. And frankly, that's the way. Nobody needs to be in a rush to do this.
Right.
We just need to do it right. It needs to be done right.
Take that, Bezos. Anyway, so sorry, Jeff. So let's bring it down to earth then.
Sure.
Let's talk about how Boeing is going to, as you've said, kind of power the Jetsons age. Those of you, I just distance ourselves from half the audience. They're like, what are they talking about? But so tell us about, let's pick on one. Tell us about like the autonomous air taxi company. So Whisk Aereo, Boeing just made an additional $450 million investment there. Some good cash there. It is an intensely competitive market. These industry players are coming after each other, heavily funded sector. And you've got analysts predicting, mass market adoption and travel forecasts within the next decade. And just for listeners, we're talking about unmanned large drone type of aircraft flying you around cities and things like that. I'm not sure what the distance range is, but so question is, what's your strategy there? What's going on?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to go visit this group several years ago, and they have some
That must have
really
been
interesting.
fun. Yes.
Oh, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. In fact, I was looking for my pictures from it. I couldn't quite find them. I sat in one of the early vehicles. It was, when you sit in this thing, you think to yourself, "Wow, would I really, sit in this thing flying,
Would I
at a
put my
certain height?"
children in here is always the test question.
You know,
Well, maybe
exactly,
one of them, but
exactly.
not that other one. No, just kidding.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and so I think that the excitement about this is that there is a lot of opportunity in this world going forward. From a demand perspective, there are lots of ways to apply the technology. And so if you think about the ability to take a company that's been innovating in this space for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then couple it with a company like ours that obviously continues to innovate all over the place, but has a lot of experience in building these types of vehicles, the regulatory aspects of them, the safety aspects of them, and sort of brings that all together. The strategy is that over time, we will be able to deliver a set of capabilities and products and services around it that fill the space of need. And so with a one team mindset around it, this is a space for a lot of innovation, both from a kind of an innovative valley, newco early stage company perspective, but also bringing forward all that knowledge and expertise that Boeing brings to play here. So I'm excited about it. We've got some great people there again that I've spent some time with. And I think I'll just say the sky's going to be the limit with them. So I think
Yeah.
they're going to do some great work.
Good one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Ford and GM early on started investing in some of the autonomous stuff and some of the heavy duty telematics companies. So it makes sense for you guys not to do this all on your own, and
Yeah,
place your
absolutely.
bets as it will. And it seems like the timelines are going to be a little longer. Everyone's always asked me, when are we going to have autonomous driving cars? And 10 years ago, I said it's going to be like 20 years. It's like you just rattled off all of the same issues, except nothing's even flying. These are on the ground. So everything regulatory to you name it. I mean, we've been through this over and over. So I always tell people, the Jetsons still isn't here, and now everyone's saying it's coming, and we get people so excited about stuff, and then we're like, well, wait till the next CES show in Vegas. We're going to show you what's really coming, and then that doesn't come. And when I said coming, I meant 10 years from now, Rico. That's what I meant to say. Oh, okay.
Yes, yes, yeah. And we have to get people excited about it. It's so important because
Absolutely.
when
Especially
we get
investors.
people, investors, talent, and the like, it's the only way we really make progress is through the experimentation and learning process that we go through. And that requires talent and investment. So to your point, we've got to continue to do that. There's opportunity there.
That's a good segue. Speaking of talent, so I am a big supporter and mentor of all types of students at different age levels up to grad school and beyond. And we actually have a Reboot Fellows program for people that are actually out in the workforce to kind of work on things and reboot themselves and pivot into other companies or careers. But you, Ted, you're also a very inspirational civic leader who gives back, I think, big time to multiple communities. And the 2022 Black Engineering Year Engineer of the Year award, I think, is that's another opportunity for you just to inspire all kinds of students to focus on STEM. I mean, the focus of that is how do you enable people for STEM. And so any advice for aspiring students that really want to be part of this exciting future, whether it's drones or rockets or planes or services? Maybe not, they don't always have to be engineers, but what would you say to those listening in on that are trying to figure out where they should go in their careers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love inspiring youth, and frankly, even not just the youth, but anyone to to sort of dig into this world. The world
You're
of STEM.
inspiring me right now, so that's good.
It's an exciting world.
It is.
One of the things I told a group of students in Chicago once, I asked them, how many of you all are really good at arithmetic and math? And like half of their hands raised up. And I said, for the other half, is the reason why you're not interested in science and engineering because you don't think you can do simple math real well? And some of them raised their hand. And I said, look, this world is not just about being good at math. It's about being a great problem solver. Engineers, what we do is we solve problems. And it takes a lot of people with a lot of different skills to solve problems. People that understand culture and how people operate and their behaviors, along with people that understand, the traditional elements of physics and engineering, along with people that understand, to the point we made earlier, around how to work with the regulatory environment around us so that we can bring innovation, to life. So, I'd encourage anyone to think about what your passions are, kind of figure out what your superpowers are over time, and figure out how you can apply them to something fun and technical. And when you're starting off, the most important thing that you can do is expose yourself to a whole bunch of different things so you can figure out what all those things are. I encourage our early employees to do different job rotations to learn more about what they like and what they don't like and understand more about the technologies and the diversity of all the work that we do. I did the same thing when I worked in the auto industry. I was lucky enough to start in a rotational program where I learned a ton about different technologies and different parts of the industry. And
that was Ford.
And you find your way. Yeah, there was a Ford. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're really good at that. Those rotating programs.
Yeah.
You just brought up something that most people don't touch on. It's like if these are younger students you were talking to in Chicago, so hey, if you're afraid of math or you don't think you're that good at it, it's like you can still be in the tech sector. There are so many jobs in the tech sector that are still techy. User experience design, ethnography, all different types of support in the technology sides that you don't have to be a programming genius to do those types of things. So I think that is really good advice to like make them feel more comfortable, not to sorry, I got excited, I hit the boom sometimes, but not to lower their expectations. Still try to work on your math skills, but don't think that that's a gate. It used to be a gate that would close. Now seems like it's much more flexible and open. I mean, you have so many jobs.
We used to have this archetype. Yes, we used to have this archetype around the techie that was not very inclusive. And so in the world that we're in now, and because of the need for so many people in this field, we sort of have to get rid of that old archetype and make it more inclusive so that everyone feels like they can play in this world.
That is a great point.
That,
you and I, when you and I grew up, you wouldn't even go near the CTO's office. It was like the CFOs. Like, by the way, if you want to get into the CFO stack, you do need to be good at math, but not if you want to get into Ted's world. You don't have to be. I love that.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting shift here. Just speaking of Chicago and things. We were talking off camera. One of the board members, founders of 1871, one of the largest incubators in the world, and we nurture startups. They're anywhere from 400 to 500 in a given quarter, and the target is about 30% are Black founders. We've got Latinos and as well as women cohorts as well, anywhere in the 20 to 30% of. So really like engaging and getting people to realize that, hey, you too can be a startup founder. It's not like a Silicon Valley thing that has to happen. This is 10 years later now. It's just booming. But so I find it to be very diverse because Chicago is diverse. I go to other cities, I don't see that, and it's okay. But my question to you is more about, so many companies kind of struggle with diversity and inclusion efforts, especially when it comes to engineering, right? You just brought it up. It's like it was a very restrictive world. It was like working at the phone company years ago, which I just lost half the audience again, but it's okay. It was a very different kind of engineering organization. So I guess two questions: How is your work around that going at Boeing? I've heard good things, and what are some of the serious challenges and triumphs you've had there?
Yeah, so we've been at this for as long as I've been at the company. And obviously, the last couple of years or so, for all big companies like ours, have provided an opportunity for us to, amplify the work that we had been doing for a long time and accelerate a lot of that work to get to more results. And so we've done a ton of things to get the acceleration going. We have a racial equity task force, for example, that's made up of a broad group of diverse, talented employees across the company. They represent all of our employee resource groups and all of our business units and functions and others. They've been providing input for the targets and approach that we've been taking. Target, I don't mean that in an old school like way of creating targets to hire people. I mean, we're trying to figure out from a business perspective what we need to do to move forward on diversity, equity, inclusion, and specifically make progress on racial equity. That's Black representation. That's how we interview and staff interviews and seed the pipeline of talent across the organization. It's how we work with our communities. It's one of my favorite efforts that I sponsored and helped develop early on, our partnership with HBCUs and using that as another pathway to access broad and diverse talent. It's within the company holding people accountable when they don't treat people the right way, in a way that we hadn't necessarily done as strongly before. And so
the tech industry is nowhere near that. So you guys are way ahead of the tech sector.
Yeah. So we're proud of the progress we've made, over the last several years, and even before. The programs, the HBCU program with Thurgood Marshall College Fund is doing really well. We have employees who started in the first cohort that are now being hired and are strong, talented, contributing professionals. The work that we've been doing to improve our hiring has shown an increase in numbers. You'll see we'll publish our next report here sometime soon, which I think is which will show progress, but it'll also show opportunities for us, because this is real. Like you can't fix and unwind decades or centuries worth of inequity in 2 years. It's just not that simple, Well,
and there's a thing called talent too. You need certain skill sets for people, and if there's not enough in a sector, there's not enough. I mean, I was talking to one of the top execs at Bosch the other day in Chicago. They're a big employer in Chicago. They're looking for 500 developers. And I said, he's like, can you help us? I'm like, of course I can, I can obviously get the word out, but, welcome to the club. Good luck with that. And you're not the most attractive company to work for in the world. You are people that know what you have capability wise, like even Boeing. A lot of people don't know. Once they find out, they're like, wow, you guys have some amazing technology. But I see a lot of these companies struggling because they are so far behind the hiring curve of tech. And this one is clearly developers and it's hard to work on diversity and inclusion when they've got some big numbers to hire just to stay competitive.
Yeah. No, it is. Hiring is very competitive these days at all levels, especially with everyone's focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so you have to participate in that talent economy, and show up. You've got to make it clear what your mission is. You've got to have demonstrated performance in developing talent broadly and specifically, and recognize and show. One of our values that we talk about and priorities in the company is around diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a force multiplier for the performance of any team. It helps us make better decisions. It helps us solve big problems, and it shows up in everything that we do. And if you haven't figured that out, then the probability that you're going to actually attract talent is almost nil, because your leaders have to recognize that they need to have diverse talent to be better. Your leaders have to recognize the demographic of our country and the world is changing, and therefore the ability to get great talent is going to be predicated upon whether we have an environment that reflects the world that we live in and the evolving and changing needs, desires, and cultural requirements of the population that's coming inside of the workforce. So on both ends of the spectrum, leadership has got to get real about how we focus on, and it's got to be part of real life and not just a thing that we do, as an added part of, our metrics.
Well
It's got to
said.
be inculcated in everything we do.
And it's really from the front line all the way to the boardroom. I spend most of my work on DEI on the boardroom sector. But for multinational companies like you, it's very different because many of these companies, they're not walking the talk, they're just talking. And they've got a lot of catching up to do, and they could probably learn a lot from you if you're okay with some of these multinationals reaching out to you personally, because they could get a little coaching from you guys because you have been on it for a long time. I mean, since you moved to Chicago years ago, we attracted you guys to come there. You guys have been through some up and downs and had some, some leadership issues, and who hasn't? But you jumped in on it early for necessity, not for like trying to be, trying to jump on the trend later on. So I think that's good advice. I hope people can actually reach out to you and kind of get your learn from you, because I think companies need to figure out some shortcuts here to make up for a lot of the years that have been kind of wasted in not building the right programs. But Ted, unfortunately, we're out of time again. But I just really appreciated having you on. You've been a great influence on young people, continue to be, and when you get your awards ceremony, I think it's coming up pretty soon here. I think there's a whole bunch of students that are going to want to listen to this and reach out to you. You might get inundated with emails, just so you know. But any parting words for the audience?
Well, first, it's been a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for the opportunity to share. I think sharing is so important. My first supervisor at Ford actually told me one of the reasons he knew I'd be successful is because I'm so generous about sharing. It's how we learn from one another. It's how we develop empathy for one another in sort of the products and services that we deliver. It's how we go and listen to our customers and understand how we get to them the things that they really, really want. Sharing and listening and seeking and speaking and listening to people around you makes all the difference in the world. And hopefully today there's something interesting that your listeners got out of the discussion. I'm excited about Boeing's future. I'm extremely excited about Boeing Global Services' future. Our future is around digital innovation, keeping our customers' planes flying every single day, using great capabilities, and a great squad of talent in BGS that we field every single day.
Keep those planes flying. We appreciate it. You've been listening to Ted Colbert, who is the CEO of Boeing Global Services. This is Dean Tobias with the Reboot Chronicles. I want to thank you for joining us today, and we will see you soon.